Hello and welcome. Today we're going to talk about negotiation. But before we do, it would really mean a lot to me if you would smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and maybe click some of the other links down below so that we can have a call together. But negotiation, all right? These are 10 powerful things you need to know if you want to become an excellent negotiator. And this is gonna probably change your life if you really take what I say to heart. I've sold cars, I've sold houses, I've sold leads, I've sold businesses, and no matter where you go, negotiating can really help you in life. So this can be used in many different situations, but the first one we're going to talk about is if you are negotiating, a salary or a price. And the first tip I have for you is never be the first person to drop the price. All right. And always let the other person tell you their budget first. This has made me so much money in real estate. It's not even funny. Our biggest deals always come when the sellers would drop their price first and they were way lower than what we would have paid for the house. So how you basically do this is there's a number of ways, but you can basically say like, look, I'd love to give you a price, but you've got a little bit more experience in this area. You've owned the house for a little bit longer. What's the best that you could really do on that price? And then whenever they sell their price, you just don't say anything. And then you repeat it back to them. Let's say they say, oh, I could do $60,000. Then you just stay quiet. $60,000. And you look them right in the eye. And 9 times out of 10, they'll come down on price. It's crazy. But never be the first person, because it's like once the price is revealed, you can't, once it's out of the box, you can't put it back in the box, okay? So you basically find tactical ways. So like if they ask you, well, how much are you willing to pay? And you say, well, price is a really important subject. So first thing you do is you agree with them, right? You say, yeah, price is really important. But I believe you know a little bit more about the property than I do. So what is the best price that you can give me? And they'll say, oh, no, I'm waiting to hear what your offer is. And you can repeat back to them, oh, so you want to know what our offer is? Well, I can't really give you an offer until we kind of know a little bit more. But if we were, what range would we be in? And then you make them give you a range. And then whatever the lowest number on that range is, that's the number you go for and below. But number one, never be the first person to price drop. All right. Number 2, don't soften the discomfort. All right. So like if you're going in for a job and you basically, let's say they want to pay you $50,000. You say, great, I'm so excited to work here. But based on my research that I've done, and I've seen that people with similar skills doing the similar job, they're usually getting paid around $85,000. And then you basically do not go soft on them, okay? You hold your own, okay? Or let's say you're trying to get a service and you say, okay, I'll be able to do it. My hourly rate is, or my rate is $500, and then they're going to say, oh, well, we could probably do it for $250. And you can say, oh, no, my rate is $500. So you see how when I say something, I stick to it and I do not soften the discomfort. And they say, oh, well, what if we just solve it right now and we do $350? And you say, oh, no, $500 is already too low for what I offer. Have you ever personally seen my work? And they're going to say, oh, no, I haven't seen your work. And he said, well, if you had, then you would understand how $500 is actually fairly low for what I charge. And then they're going to basically go back and forth, and they say, okay, what if we do it for $400 right now? And you say, no, $500 is my standard rate. And that's how you stick to your prices, and you do not soften the discomfort, okay? You say your number, and you shut up, and you let them fight over it, and then you keep coming back. And yes, you can get closer and closer. This is how you will, because main thing with negotiation, and it's just the same with like a relationship or anything. Whoever has the less attachment to the outcome wins. Okay. That's where the power is, right? That's where the power is. It's kind of screwed up with like relationships. It's like whoever loves the other one more has the power in the relationship, or whoever loves the other one less has the power in the relationship, because they don't care. They can leave, right? So the other one is always trying to impress them, always trying to make them, happier, because they want them to feel the same way that they want to. And I know it's kind of screwed up, but it's a negotiation thing. It's a human animal thing. If they realize that you have nothing to lose, right, then you have the power. If you have nothing to lose, you have the power. This is how the rich become richer and the poor get poor. But if you have that mindset of don't soften the discomfort, okay, and hold your ground, hold the wall at what you want, you'll usually get it, or you'll get way closer than you would have before. And it's crazy. All right. Number 3, the secret email. This email will make you a shitload of money. And it's just a very simple email that says, have you given up on this? All right. So let's say that you did not soften the discomfort, right? And but they will not meet you there. It will not meet you there, will not meet you there, will not meet you there. And then you basically have to part ways or whatever. And you go back, you say your offer again, and then you say, have you given up on this? Or you don't say your offer again, but you tell them, what it is you're offering one more time. And then this can be on sales calls too. I've used this on sales calls too. I've gone back and forth, and they've tried to lowball me, not going anywhere. We won't meet in the middle. We start to get kind of mad at each other, and then there's just that silence, and you say, have you given up on this? And they're going to open up again. They're going to say, oh, I haven't given up on this. I just blah, 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 blah. And then you can handle their objections. You can keep negotiating until you get your price, and you don't soften the discomfort. And then if it does blow up, or if you have to follow up, you say, have you given up on this? And they obviously haven't given up on it, because they're still interested in it. They still probably want what you have to offer. And if they don't, well then, that was that. But at least you held your own. But that one line, have you given up on this? And this is great for emails too. It's like, you'll get that email in your campaign, in your email box one of these days. Have you given up on this? And it's just like reignites all the passion and feelings you had before you found out the price, or before you learned more about the thing. And usually when it reignites that dopamine burst, people have not given up on it, because if they give up on something, then they get nothing, right? Whereas if they probably started the sales conversation, they started the negotiation wanting something, and having that little line will probably tell you the exact reason why they haven't moved forward yet. And it's very powerful. Have you given up on this? And they'll say, no, I haven't given up on this. I just don't know if I have time. Oh, okay. So it's a time objection. So then you can say, yes, time is really important to me, but I promise you that this is going to not only make you more money, but we'll be able to do it in record time so that you can move on with your life and start doing what you really want to do. All right. So basically that is a great and powerful negotiation tactic, is, don't soften the discomfort. But then number 3 is, have you given up on this? Because people don't want to give up on things. People don't want to be a quitter, even if it's something stupid, even if we don't want it anymore. If you're just sitting there on a negotiation and they're trying to get their way, you're trying to get your way, you're just sitting there, you can slide it over to them, give them the pen and the paper, and say, have you given up on this? And they're going to say, no, I haven't given up on this. And then they're going to do it anyways, and you're going to win. So it's pretty dope. Number 4, this is real powerful. This is called mirroring. All right. And mirroring is, it's a lot easier, obviously, if you're selling in person. Okay. But you can do it on the phone. Actually, the way that we do it a lot on the phone is whatever the rhythm that the seller or the customer on the other end is talking, you kind of want to talk at the same speed that they are talking, because the main reason is, like, we have mirror neurons in our brain, right? The old saying, monkey see, monkey do. And whenever we see people that are similar to us, even if it's not blatantly obvious, it's just the subtlest things will connect us on a deeper level, and they'll like us more. Okay. Like it's kind of like, it's not opposites attract, but it's things that are the same attract each other. You know what I mean? Attractors attract. You know what I mean? So basically, if you're in a person, if you're going to a job interview and it's in person, or if you're negotiating in person and they have their arms crossed, you should cross your arms as well, so that they know that you're like them and they feel more comfortable, right? And if they have a scowl on their face or they have a big smile, then you should start smiling too. And it's just subtle things. And if they're tapping with their right hand out or their fingers down, then you can do the exact same thing. And you don't do it to blatantly be copying them, okay? But it triggers an emotion in our mind that this person is like me, and we like people that are like us. Now, I'm not saying if they have like an accent to copy their accent or something, but like imagine if somebody, from Louisiana is talking to somebody from New York, right? Or the New York guys is all jacked up on caffeine. They're going to talk totally freaking different. They're going to be from like completely different planets. You know what I mean? So in that situation, one of them has to conversate the same way, talk slowly, maybe add a little bit of a Southern draw on there or add a New Yorker accent, not curse as much, maybe, you know what I mean? So you have to think about these things, but then you want to implement it in almost every conversation, because as soon as you guys talk alike, your conversation is going to be alike, and you're going to be in more alignment with each other to close the deal and find the happy win-win situation that everybody wants, okay? Mirroring, though, super powerful. And it also goes even farther. If people say things a certain way, you want to say it the same way as well. If they call the contract an agreement, you don't want to call it a contract. You want to call it an agreement. There's just lots of different things, but you want to, if you notice words that they use, you don't want to use other words and confuse them. You want to use their same language. You want to use their same world. And this goes for a lot of marketing. A lot of people just want to be part of a tribe. They want to have a connection with somebody, and it's a lot easier to connect with somebody that's like them. So that's where mirroring comes in. That's where your conversations can mirror each other. You can use the same words. And it has so much education and so many further meanings than just for negotiating for sales. Like if you want to learn how somebody thinks, you can write, you basically copy what they've written and you write it the same way. You're going to see how they use their punctuation, how they make short sentences or long sentences. And this travels from, phone to text to everything. But you really want to try and mirror them, not so that it's a over, complicated mirroring of someone, but if you can figure out subtle ways to mirror the way they talk, mirror the way their bodies are positioned. If they're standing, then you stand. If they're slouching, then you slouch. These are things that will help you because, again, you'll have that connection with the other person and you'll be enforcing that connection on a subconscious level that you're like them and that you're on their side and willing to work. And they're going to be less confrontational. All right. Number 5, look for the black swans. This is super cool. This is powerful. So the black swans are basically just an indication of what people really want in a negotiation. And all my sales stuff, all of it is really trying to find the heart of what it is that is going to get them to buy and what they really want in the situation. I remember I had this couple. They wanted to get into real estate, but they were worried the dad worked, from like 3 till 5 in the afternoon. The mom worked from like 5 until 12 at night. So they just were never, spending time with each other. And their objection was, I just don't think I have enough time in the day to really dedicate to this to make it happen. And basically, as soon as I heard that, though, I said, look, you don't have time to not do this if you really want to get into this. Because if you try and do it on yourself, you're never going to be able to study. We're going to shortcut you to the front of the line so that you can learn everything as fast as possible so that you can get out of that shitty job and you can spend more time with your family. Boom. Close the deal, take the money, ready to roll. And that's just like an example because like what they really wanted was to get more time to spend with their family, and what they were basically their objection was that they didn't have enough time. But I was able to figure out exactly what they really wanted is they really want to quit their job. Right. So, and if they could quit their job faster because they get into this thing, boom, they're going to be able to, we're going to be able to teach them so that they can do it faster because if they had to do it on their own time, they would never get there. So we shrunk time just for them. And it's really interesting. So always try and find the real thing that people are negotiating for. And it's called like the Freudian slip. If you keep asking them questions, and this isn't to be annoying, it's just you want to keep the conversation going. If you keep on asking them questions, eventually the Freudian slip is they will eventually tell you exactly what they want in the negotiation, because it's just a human being thing to first be, have your guard up, right? But then as you slowly talk more, you find out more about the person, their guard will get let down, and they'll actually tell you really what they're trying to do. Why do you really want to buy this product? Oh, I don't want to buy this product. What about this product do you really like? Oh, I don't want nothing about this product I really like. And then you keep talking about the product. Okay, well, there's a reason you got on the call. And they say, oh, yeah, I just want to quit my job. Okay, you want to quit your job. What about your job do you hate? Oh, I have to travel all the time. Oh, okay, so you're not home enough. You're going to say, yeah, I'm not home enough. And I'm sick of driving in this chair, and I'm sick of not talking to anybody. And I say, okay, great. Well, now I know that the real reason you want to get this job is so that you can stop being a truck driver and get off the road. And you can just keep digging deeper, and you're going to find the real reason why they want what you have or why they got on the phone call. And you're going to be able to use that so that you can close and so that you can negotiate more deals. But you should always be looking. And then when you do finally identify the real reason why they want to buy your product, why they want to do the thing, you use that to label them now. You use that, okay, you're somebody who just wants more time back. You're someone who wants more time with family, right? Then I've labeled them. And then now I can label them, be like, look, if you want to fix your problem and have more time with your family, because that's the kind of person you are, you're somebody who wants to have more time with their family, boom, 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 boom. All right, that's just a big brain stretch. But I think it's really powerful, and in all situations, you should be looking for the black swan. Learn how to get their guard down and really find out the real reason behind what they want and what they're trying to negotiate for. I remember I had this deal for real estate. This guy was such a hard ass, such a pain in the ass. And I was like, man, why won't this guy just fucking come down like $5,000? And it turned out that his mom had passed away, and the only inheritance that his her 5 grandchildren would get is the money that they would get out of selling the house. And as soon as I knew that, I was like, oh, okay. So the real reason you're looking to sell is so that your grandkids can get their money out of the house, and there's still a little bit of money owed. So it really means a lot to you for your grandkids. And I basically said, well, look, I need you to come down a little bit. And at least this way, you will be getting money to your grandchildren, and then we'll be able to make this deal work. Whereas if you're not willing to make this deal work and you're not willing to come down, then your grandchildren are going to get no money. And then I got the leverage because I found out the real reason, that he was trying to do it and blah, 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 blah. He got lots of money. He got more money than he ever fucking had in his whole life. And it was all because he had to come down $5,000 and he didn't want to. He refused to do it for so long. And then he finally did, and we were able to close the deal, and everybody got money and everybody won. So, all right, number 6, use a third party. This goes both ways. Okay. So real estate, salary, business thing, you're trying to close. And it goes both ways. So the first way is that the customer hears your price and then says, oh, man, I'm going to have to talk to my business partner about that before I make any decision. Okay, so how you can disarm that is by using another third party, right? So they want to get out their excuses. They're going to get off the call so that because they have another third party that is supposed to be involved and they can't make a decision. So then what you can do is, well, my boss doesn't really like it if people are going to get off a call to talk to their spouse. Can we just decide this now? So you cancel their third party with your third party, and it can really create a lot of opportunity because they're blaming a third party. So then you blame a third party, and then basically you can be like, okay, well, if you also have someone just like me, then we can probably disarm this confrontation of maybe doing something else, and we can just do business right now. Okay. Another thing, though, is it works for you, right? If you are trying to win in a negotiation, and basically you can say, look, at that price, I'm going to have to go and talk to my business partner. Can't we just come to my price right now and get this done? Boom. So it's a negotiation tactic is using a third party. And I call it always have a heavy, right? So whenever you're doing a deal, have someone bigger than you that you can blame, okay? Be like, oh, I'm just the innocent middleman, And my boss, he's the real asshole. He's the one that has all the paperwork. That's the price. I can't do anything for you. So you always blame the heavy. You always, because like, think about going to a car dealership, right? They'll basically, you'll be talking to the car guy. You'll say your price. You'll negotiate that down. And then he goes and he talks to his third party, right? He talks to his boss. They fucking shoot the shit in there about nothing for a little while. Come back and then try and stick it to you. Be like, look, I can't do it because this is what my boss said. And my boss said this, blah, 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 blah. And then if you say, okay, well, then I can't do it, then they go back and they talk to their boss, and all of a sudden they actually can do it. So it's a very interesting way of negotiating, and it's something you can always keep in your pocket. If you're not getting what you want, blame a third party and then come back up to your price, and then they'll say, okay, well, whatever. And then if they're blaming a third party, bring in another third party to cancel their third party block. It's kind of wild. It's fun. All right, number 7, ask questions to force empathy. So you want to get their guard down. You want to defuse the situation. Yeah, well, that's another one. But this is like ask questions to force empathy. And one of the main questions is, how am I supposed to do that? So if they say, all right, well, we're only going to be able to pay you $60,000, and you're going to have to do all the work, and you're going to say, well, how am I supposed to do that? And then they're going to start thinking, oh, fuck, well, if he actually has to do it, how is he going to do it for that price? And then they'll come closer to you. So it's just like but asking questions that force empathy is really powerful, because if you ask a question that starts an emotion, emotions are like the wild animal, right? Like if we were all robots or all, Spocks or whatever, trying to negotiate would be real blah. It probably wouldn't happen. Nothing would get done because both parties would just hit each other. So having emotions come into play and feelings are really the keys to a lot of negotiating. So if you can make the other party feel a certain way, or if you can ask questions that are going to bring out emotions, that's really going to be very powerful for your negotiation tactics. And that's really going to get you to where you want in the negotiation so that you can win. So one of the power lines is, and how am I supposed to do that? Like, let's say, oh, it's $5,000. And then they say, well, all I can do is pay $2,000, but I really want to join. Can you please do it for me? And you say, well, how am I supposed to do that? And they're going to say, oh, okay, you're right. I'll go get some other money. I've got some credit cards. So you ask that question and then you just shut up. All right. But asking questions that force empathy or tell stories that force empathy. Feelings. People buy on feelings. There's that saying, they may not remember what you said, but they'll remember the way that you made them feel. That's very powerful in negotiating, is making people feel things. It's going to trigger people. It's going to trigger things. Just from a sales call from my own life, I was thinking about it, is I was talking to someone on the phone, and I basically asked them, because I didn't want the spouse situation to come up at the end. I asked them, and does your spouse agree with your decisions? And he said, oh yeah, no, I'm doing this for her because I want to make her happy, blah, 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 blah. And then at the end of the call, you can use that again. It's part of your negotiation. You can say, oh, well, I'm sure, this is going to make your wife really happy. This is going to be something that you really, because you're going to be happy and you're going to make a bunch of money and blah, 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 blah. But then you can pinpoint the problem, but you ask it by asking, questions that force empathy. That wasn't the best example, but how am I supposed to do that is an empathy, because they have to think about how you're actually going to do the work. And very, very powerful. All right, number 8, silence is powerful. So a lot of people are very uncomfortable. I just started laughing probably because I'm uncomfortable with silence. So something to think about. But silence is powerful. Sometimes silence or having those pauses is what wins the game. Like if somebody drops a price, you just don't say a word and you just look them right in the eyes. Especially if they're lowballing you. They'll know they're lowballing you, and they'll say, okay, they can't handle the awkwardness. That they can't handle it. So then if you know anything about negotiation, it's like whoever says something after that loses, right? There's some jokes and some stuff where people make an offer and then they both just sit there in silence. And then the first one to say anything loses the negotiation. But silence is powerful. If you don't know what to say, sometimes being silent is more powerful because people will keep talking. They'll keep telling you things. And that's where the Freudian slip can come from as well, is by people are uncomfortable with silence. And if you can be comfortable with silence, you can tell people your price and then you just shut your mouth, right? And I always teach sales professionals, drop the highest price or the most beneficial price and then just shut your mouth. And then basically whoever says anything first loses. So if you can just sit there in silence, eventually they'll say, oh, okay. Or they'll say, oh, no, I can't do that. And then you can handle that objection. And then once you handle that objection, you drop it again and you stay silent. Because then they don't have any more objections and they can't do it. So, all right, the next one, random numbers. Okay, so this is just kind of a tip from real estate and from salaries and negotiating things like that. Instead of throwing out, negotiating only $5,000 or $10,000, for some reason, people's brains are more likely to accept an offer if it's a very random number, right? If they're stuck at 50 and you're stuck at 55 or whatever, instead of saying, okay, look, I need this $5,000, say, okay, look, what if we come up to $3,542, which is exactly what I need? Is that something you'd be willing to do? And their brain is going to, like, all those numbers discombobulated them, right? Whereas if you just say, well, what if we come up $5,000? That's an easy no. But if you come up with all those numbers, it sounds like you really thought it out. It sounds like this is a price for some reason because this is exactly how much you need to charge for something to happen. And it just kind of tricks people out. That's why it's good to end, your prices of products with a 7, because 7's not as normal, or some random number, because the random number makes it seem like this is the price, right? We thought really hard about these numbers for some reason, but they're still just numbers. But it is powerful to have random numbers when you're trying to negotiate prices up. Throw out a random number and be like, well, what if we could do $80,000, $83,000 and $250, 27 cents. Perfect. Whatever. And then number 10 is basically disarm the situation, right? So one of the like if you're selling cars, right? One of the classic scenarios, a customer walks onto the car lot and says, "Oh, I'm just looking," right? And then you're going to disarm that conversation by saying, "Oh yeah, well I'm just selling," and it's like, "Oh, okay, well then that's fine." Then you can start a conversation. Whereas if you want to, and when you say basically, when you disarm the situation, right? Or like, here's a better example: when you're on a sales call with somebody and you're talking to them, and they throw an objection at you, right? They're like, "Well, why should I use your company as opposed to other companies?" You're going to basically say, "Well, I don't know if you should." So you disarmed it because you took all the salesiness out of the conversation. You agreed with them. You said, "Well, I don't know if you should. I don't know if this is the right fit for you." Right? You disarmed them. And what happens after I say that is I pull them towards me in the conversation. They say, "Well, why should I use your company as opposed to anybody else's company?" And you say, "I don't know if you should. You're right." And they say, and then what are they going to say, right? They're going to ask you questions. They're going to say, "Oh, okay." And the reason it's so powerful is because you're attracting them as opposed to getting defensive and saying, "Oh, our company has all these benefits, blah, 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 blah." That's what they're used to. And then that just builds their wall, right? First wall built with that objection basically was, "Well, why should I use your company?" Right? And then if you start spouting off, "Oh, well, it's because we are the fastest, we'll do it in this time, blah, 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 blah," their walls are going up. Whereas if they flip that wall, right? They say, "Well, why should I work with your company?" And then you slam it over by saying, "I don't know if you should." It makes you feel more human. It makes it feel less greasy and slimy. It's more of a pull them in, an attractor, because you're agreeing with them. You're on their side, and then obviously the next thing is you're going to wait for them to say, "Well, I don't know if you should." And then you're going to shut up. And they're going to ask you a question that they're questioning about everything. They're going to ask, "Okay, well, how long does it take?" They're going to want to know more. You're going to pull them in as opposed to push them away. Okay? So this was a lot of really great tips on negotiating, and I look forward to talking to you in the next one. Now that I've delivered you tons of value, like, subscribe, share this with a friend, put a comment down below, send me a video testimonial, and I look forward to talking to you in the next one.